big thing is where's the opportunity right now?
The business landscape is always changing, especially for builders. The ones who notice and adapt are the ones that stand out the most. In this podcast, Kurt, the builder's coach, and Richard from ProCalc discuss how builders can spot and identify the current opportunities in their own markets, and then how to benefit the most from them.
Welcome to the Builders Marketing Podcast. Today, I wanted to have a chat with Kurt and Richard because they talk to a lot of builders and they help a lot of builders. So, yeah, I guess the first question is, to Kurt. Like, Kurt, you talk to hundreds of builders every week or month. Where do you see the biggest opportunity right now for builders?
Look, I'll just preface my answer by saying, there's never a bad time to work on your business and on your personal and leadership development, right? You always want to be, doing things to implement best practice process and take more control of your business, and then you'll be in a position to take advantage of opportunities. But if we look at the current market conditions, there's a bit of hesitancy. People are unsure about where things are at with interest rates. We all know
the
that
market as a whole.
What's that? Sorry.
You were just saying there's hesitancy. Like, where's the hesitancy in the market?
With people wanting to proceed with projects? That's what I'm hearing from a lot of builders. There's the uncertainty, what they call FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? Like in the market, because of the change in the environment where everyone was certain that interest rates were going to come down. I mean, for the first time on the history of this planet, right, there was certainty from every economist on the planet. So every single economist agreed that the US was going into a recession. This is at the end of last year. And the real estate market surged, right? So no one knows what that is going on, right? That just confirms it. Nobody knows what's going on. But they were saying, hey, interest rates are going to come down the second half of the year. Then they've got, wait, no, maybe not, because, the inflation's still going up. So that's just creating a lot of uncertainty and fear. And from a lot of builders I speak to, their clients are, as a result, maybe not proceeding or making decisions and committing to projects. But, so what's the solution there? And where's the opportunity? The interest rates will come down at some point. So 2025 should, bar some Black Swan event or World War III, be a big year. So any work you do now on your business and systems development and marketing in particular is going to set you up as a builder to pick and choose the best jobs. All right. So I think just, getting clear on your market. So what is that niche that you want to dominate? If people listening to this, that could be in a metro area, in a regional area. We work with guys all over, the different landscapes, so different markets. So it's really about identifying, where's that margin? Where's the opportunity? Is that in, renovations, remodeling, luxury homes? And we were talking just before about a guy that decided to do architectural builds. That was his dream, is to work on those big, beautiful homes. And that's where he wanted to niche himself, put his flag in the sand. And he did that only to realize that there was a level of complexity, a size job where the complexity became an inefficiency. And he realized he needed to bring it back, because his ultimate outcome was to get into the seven-figure club, like net $1 million a year consistently, and then set up a development on. So he had to rein that in, that job size and complexity, and find a sweet spot where he could stagger them perfectly, market to a broader market and overbook the flight, take control, get in the seven-figure club.
So how is it, like, you're talking about a sweet spot, right? I guess that is where the opportunity is. It's like finding your sweet spot. And that's going to be different for every builder, depending on location, what they build, what their market looks like, where we at in time of the world, what's going on around interest rates, all these external factors. But how would you suggest builders find their sweet spot?
So it depends where they are. Like, if you're just starting out in building, they're not going to have a lot of history in terms of builds. But a good place to start, if you've been building for a number of years, you could go back and look at what have been your most profitable jobs. Like, do the analysis. I know most guys don't have a lot of financial clarity, and if you're listening and your bookkeeping's a mess, then you're not alone. Like, I've never met a builder, he's come to me with clear numbers, with accurate, chart of accounts, job codes, cost codes. But there is still, a way to just go through the paperwork and look at, which jobs were more profitable. Why were they more profitable? Can you do more of that type of work? So that'll help direct you towards, the money, basically. So chase the margin, then the revenue. And if you're still uncertain, tap into a community of builders who are proactive with business development, which is about 10% or less of the building community. If you just go to an association meeting, it's normally a whinge fest, right? There's a lot of people complaining about the government, about this, and there's lots to complain about. But if you're around guys who are peak performers, high achievers, yes, not everything's easy, but they're doing positive things to take control of their business, to drive things forward.
For the builders that have been around for a while, they can go back, look at the numbers, look at the projects they were profitable in, the ones they enjoyed. Are they still around in this current market? Okay, let's niche in that. Let's go after that. What about the builders that are just starting out?
Speak to designers, architects, real estate agents. Look at and do research in your local market to find out, where's the money flowing? What do people want? So the key here is really find a market first. Okay, a lot of people create a product and then they try and sell the product to the market. Rather find the market. Look at, what is it? Maybe it's tiny houses in your area. Maybe there's more of a movement towards green homes, eco-friendly, smart homes, passive house, whatever it is. You'll very quickly see what's happening, even speaking to suppliers, to trades. And then based on that, set up intelligent marketing systems, both online and offline, with a view to absolutely dominate that market, to add as much value as possible.
Yeah, that's 100% right, Kurt. I guess, Richard, like from your perspective, how can builders ensure that clients or prospective clients have come to them, they can actually afford what they want?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think a big thing, just touching on what Kurt was saying about niching into a particular type of project or a particular client base is really, really crucial, because the more you can align yourself as a builder with that particular type of project or that particular type of client base, what it does is it means that you're working in that sweet spot and you're actually sending your marketing messages correctly, the right messaging. You're also delivering the right jobs. And in a lot of the research that we saw, what we found is that a lot of the time it comes down to making sure that you are targeting clients who can't just afford it, but they're also, when you qualify them, they actually align with the budget constraints that a particular project sort of presents. If you think about particular client bases, and I remember speaking to one builder who told the story of how he'd actually put on bottles of French champagne when he was doing the handover, and do not on the handover, but do a housewarming for the client. And actually, the client would invite their friends, the architects would invite their future projects, and the builder would also invite future prospects. And so what he's really doing is he's niching down into a very specific target market. It doesn't have to be an architectural build. It has to, pretty much any build that you choose is right. But then once you've done that, you've tended to disqualify a lot of the people that aren't right for your practice anyway, and you've sort of attracted the right clients. But I suppose the key thing to remember is that every project you can vary the scope, you can vary the design, you can vary the timing, you can vary all sorts of things. But probably the one thing that you can't vary is actually the client's budget. Once they top out with their budget, they've topped out. And so I think what really came through in a lot of those conversations that we've had with builders is really about making sure that the client can afford it by having a system to qualify them properly.
Yeah. So what would you say, we don't have to go into detail. Go into detail on the webinar next week, but what are some ways that they can qualify?
Look, I think it's really important that there are a variety of things. So as Kurt touched on earlier, it's about finding a sweet spot in the jobs that you like doing. So if you look back over the jobs that you love doing and you really enjoyed them, you enjoyed the client, you enjoyed the project, everybody walked away with a happy place. You got a good return, the client got a great outcome. They're the kinds of things that are an ideal job. And so you really want to qualify for that. But importantly, you also want to qualify because the one thing that won't change is that client budget. Being able to tap into the conversation early about what the client thinks the job is worth can sometimes be fruitful, but often it's not, because clients don't actually know what a project is worth, whereas they actually rely heavily on a builder to actually tell them and actually inform them. And so what we'll talk about on June 7 is actually being able to provide that information to clients in a way that's really professional and efficient and fast, And it means that the client's not sort of saying, hey, I think I've got this much to spend, but I don't really know. You're sort of taking the guesswork out of it for them. And a lot of clients really do, they warm to that. They love that when a builder can actually say, look, this is where you're sitting, because the builder's playing the role as an expert.
Yeah, and that kind of reminds me of this, which leads me to the next question I want to ask Kurt. But it reminded, like, we just had this big win last week where a client was explaining to us that he just got awarded this this new project, and it was like his ideal project. And it's like an architectural build. There's like an architect involved as well. So it's a bit of like, there's the builder, the architect, and the client. And he was the only builder, in that for that project. Like, the architect and the client weren't looking for any other builders. And this is, I think, something that a lot of builders strive for. And yeah, I agree 100%. Like, you positioning yourself in your market and that being that expert makes it really hard for any other builder to run in that race as well, which comes back down to what you always say, that concept of a one-horse race. What do you mean by a one-horse race, and why should, I guess, builders take note of that?
One-horse race, that's optimization from a sales perspective, which means, you don't tender against other builders. People come to you and they want to work with you from the outset. So there's just no comparison quotes at all. Every builder's had that happen. You've had someone come to you and they were a strong referral and they've said, we've heard amazing things, we want to work with you, and it's just about, does the budget fit? But that's actually something I'm seeing a lot. Budgets aren't fitting the scope of works these days because inflation's a real thing, right? Building costs have gone up around 30% in less than 2 years. And a lot of people are turning up with beer money and champagne taste, right? So with that in mind, in terms of market now, you want to cater for that upper end of the market. So people that have money, because there's always people that have money, even in a downturn, even in a GFC, there's people that'll have money. So being mindful of the client as well as the job, because those are two separate things. So you need deal breakers for both those things. And again, we can go into the details of this on the 7th, but that's really important. But the one-horse race, look, again, optimization. So we're about implementing best practice process and people, which is building a dream team. But the ultimate outcome objective is that your marketing, which is selling in advance, right? You can do a lot of selling in advance, educating people using education-based marketing processes to help them understand what it is that you deliver best within your chosen niche, right? So this is where you become that specialist. You've got a lot of credibility and respect that's been earned just by virtue of the fact that being a specialist, but now you're communicating your processes and what you do and showcasing the work that you do that just elevates you even further. And then if you do that well enough, you get enough people coming to you already having decided they want to work with you, right? So they know, like, and trust you. And then it's a one-horse race. The term for that would be an application-based sales process. So people are applying for you to do their work, and you've got enough of them doing that to the extent that, your first qualifying question is, are you speaking to another builder? If it's yes, then you politely refer them on.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm excited for you to, I guess, map out what that ideal process looks like on the day. Sorry, you were just going to mention something more.
Yeah, if I can just add something to that. In as you guys know, we interviewed literally hundreds and hundreds of builders about the way that they engage with clients, and it was really interesting. We had some builders that were very sophisticated in the way that they worked with clients. We had others who would say, if I'm not the only builder, I won't talk to them, and they had this very black and white sort of lens. And I suppose one of the things that really came through is that the most successful builders were actually not those who said, we've just got a blanket rule that we don't tender against other builders. What they did was they actually had a system to make sure that they were the most valued expert in the client was talking to, and inevitably out of that they would then become the single builder that was actually engaging with them. So I think really creating a system, which we'll talk about on June 7, to actually position yourself as a trusted expert who becomes the preferred builder. That's really a key step. So you've got to position yourself in the right way to do that, and I think that's key.
100%. I mean, Richard, you always talk about this, and one way to do that is, without giving away too much right now, is charging for that first meeting, right? I know a lot of builders like charge for quotes. This is something different. This is going a step back in the customer process. Charging for that first meeting. What's the, I guess, rationale behind that?
Yeah, look, it's probably a few layers to it, but the first is that the key thing as a builder that you can do is actually provide immediate value to the client purely through your expertise, because builders are experts at doing this. They've got better knowledge around this than architects or building surveyors or estimate whoever. So really, when a builder meets with a client on site, they have a massive amount of information that they can share with clients. And so what we're going to do on June 7 is actually talk through the ways that you can actually present that information in a way that is where the client gets massive value out of it. And what that then does is it positions the builder as that trusted expert. And that's really the key step that we want to do. And the other part of it too is that you can charge for this, and that actually feeds in to positioning the builder as an expert. So I think in a lot of the builders that we spoke to in the research that we did, and I remember speaking to one guy who almost had cold sweats when he was thinking about facing up to promote his services to clients. He was really anxious about that. He hated the idea of it. And I think that's quite common. A lot of builders were never taught to be salespeople. They were taught to frame up a wall or to do.
Right.
We were trained as carpenters. But what we're really trying to do is step away from that idea that a builder needs to sell their services, because if you start solving a client's problems and add value, and we'll show you how to do that efficiently, what that does is it shifts it from a sales call into a professional consultation, which is really where you start building trust and becoming that one horse, in the race.
Yeah, mate, I absolutely love that. And I know it's like, I can't even imagine for most builders, it would be, you'll be so scared to charge for that first meeting, especially if you've never done it before. But 2.5 years ago, got introduced to this buyer's agent that he helps you buy like an investment property, and his team takes care of it. And I remember listening to him on a podcast, and then I'm like, well, I want to pursue this. And then what I did was I reached out to him, and he educated me on that first phone call, saying I can't remember the exact details of it, but at the end of that phone call, he basically said, hey, look, I think we might be able to help you for sure. The next step of the process is a strategy call, and it's a $2,000 call. And I was like, what? For a phone call. And then, this buyer's agent, he was selling me on the value. He wasn't selling me on this whole strategy session just to make money out of it. He understood where I was at. I was, I had this desire to start my investment portfolio. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to buy, all the complexity around it. I'm a business owner. I'm busy, right? So what he did was then I jumped on this call, and it was probably the most valuable call I've ever been on. And it was probably 30 minutes to an hour, but it was him understanding my circumstances and putting together a clear plan for me to move forward. Cut a long story short, a month or two later, he bought me an investment property. I trusted this guy. I trusted that he's the expert, his team, like a team of experts, and they're going to find me the right place, and they did, right? Whereas if he didn't charge me that $2,000, I wouldn't have showed up early, number one, for that phone call. I wouldn't have had a pen and paper in my hand and see him as the expert and him, really diagnosing my situation so that he can prescribe the right thing. Yeah. So
I love that.
Totally changes it.
If I could
does.
jump in there.
And look, go on, Kurt.
So I was just going to say the higher the price paid, the higher the appreciation generally.
Mm.
And I think that's what came through in what you're saying there, Corne.
Yeah. And look, you got to, for all the builders listening to this, you've got to remember that clients, when they first meet you, we've identified 5 key questions that they need answered, and they won't progress further until they actually get those questions answered. And if they do try to progress without answering, they stop, they go missing, they come and go, and it draws out the whole process. So in order for them to progress in exactly the way that buyer's agent took you through a process and discussed some very specific things with you, Corne, builders can discuss some very, very specific things and provide a lot of value to clients that they desperately need in that very first meeting. And that's what we're going to be covering.
Yeah, that's a good point, mate. And I'm sure you're going to share some of those questions that prospective customers need to have answered absolutely on the day. But yeah, I guess just real quick, I'll introduce, we've been talking a little bit about this webinar on the 7th of June. So look, guys, Kurt, Richard and myself, we're coming together to, provide value to our audiences and really just to show what the top 1% of builders do that we get to deal with on a daily basis, right? So really in this webinar, it's all about identifying, your ideal market, especially where's the opportunity right now, and really to start building your 2025 and 2026 pipeline, right? It's not too early. I think the builders that start planting those seeds now will make it a lot easier for themselves, especially when that opportunity arises. We'll talk about how to communicate with your ideal clients to build that trust, really how to establish yourself as that go-to builder and make it a one-horse race. Kurt's going to talk a lot more about some things that he sees with his clientele, how to create that one-horse race. And it's totally doable. I've seen this with mutual clients. I'm going to definitely talk a lot about the marketing and how a lot of your marketing should do some of the upfront selling, right? Again, marketing is sales in advance. A lot of those questions that Richard just spoke about that people need to have answered in their mind can be done through your marketing, educational-based marketing, your story, and so on. We're going to talk about really leveraging your sales process to educate and nurture. So again, sales shouldn't be seen as sleazy. There's just got to be a real clear process for you to provide value, right? And Rich is going to go into learning how to actually charge for that first meeting. And he's got a really unique way on creating that offer so that people walk away with something tangible and they can go, wow, this was worth investing. And then another thing, guys, it's going to be live. So we're going to be here. We're going to answer any questions that you guys have live. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting event. It's on the 7th of June at 10 a.m. Click on the link in the description of wherever you're listening or watching to this episode and save your seat. There probably won't be a recording, so you need to show up. That's where you'll get the most value out of it. Anything else you guys want to add before we close this podcast?
Look, I think for me, it's really just about trying to get predictable and consistent results. So I know what it's like as a builder when you've got this sort of sawtooth effect where you've got a peak and a trough, and you're flat out, and then all of a sudden you look over the precipice and realize you've got no more work coming in. That's something that really hurts builders, and it came through in a lot of the interviews that we did too. And so I think really the idea of having a proven system where you can consistently win A+ clients that are really well matched for your business, you're not getting this up and down thing. You're actually getting a nice, consistent or a steady growth in the way that you're bringing clients into your pipeline. And I think that's probably the key thing that we're keen to look at.
Yeah, 100%, mate. And I mean, for builders that have a system like that in place, you always have to optimize that and evolve that system, right? Because times are changing like exponentially at the moment with technology and all that, and people as well, like what they expect from the client journey. So I think it's a really good opportunity for builders that don't have a system to have a look at what do they need to put in place, and then B, for the builders that do have a system in place, what can they optimize? What can they make better? What can they evolve to suit their changing business and also the changing world?
Excellent. I'll just finish by saying wealth and rarity go hand in hand. So to anyone listening, don't be a Me Too builder. Be that builder who's sought after and a rare find, because it lends itself to higher margin.
Awesome, guys. Well, looking forward to seeing you guys on the 7th of June to provide some massive value to builders.
Awesome, Corne. Looking forward to it.
Likewise, guys.